Danavir, man, what's up?
Hey man, how's everything going?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, bro.
Good, good. Well, I know we're recording this on a Friday, so happy Friday. People listening are probably going to be listening to it on Monday or another day. So anyone listening, happy whatever day it is. But Danavir, I'm really excited to talk email copy with you. Do you mind, kind of before we dive into three topics that we're going to go through, sharing a little bit about your background at a high level?
Yeah, man. So I've been a direct response marketer, digital marketer for the past 10 years. Got my start with copywriting and specifically email copywriting with my first client being, he sold street magic DVDs online, like the David Blaine style street magic stuff. And eventually he sold his own cards, like, playing cards or whatever. And that's pretty much how I got started. I knew nothing. I was way into those hardcore direct response, like Frank Kern, Eben Pagan, Russell Brunson-esque internet marketing world. And I was in that world for like 8 years, did copywriting, marketing, all sorts of things throughout that time. And then eventually in the past, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 2 years, I would say, I've been going hardcore into just e-commerce and stuff. So again, with the same copywriting, marketing, ads, ad creative and stuff like that.
Sweet, man. Well, that's awesome. I'm pumped to learn from you. Let's dive into the first kind of topic then. So really, I know one of the things that you were excited to share a bit about is how do you write email copy and kind of strategize flows based on customer awareness?
Right. So this is something I don't see talked about very often in e-commerce, but it's talked about a lot in direct response because awareness is almost everything. Because that's like uh, a lot of people talk about like the customer journey, right? And there's some people have, like, I know digital marketer has their own version of a customer journey and stuff like that. They buy this and you upsell that, whatever. But there's a difference between that and the customer journey of, someone's mind, their thought process as they go from stranger to buyer. And so the way I follow basically Eugene Schwartz's model of customer awareness, which is, you'd have the unaware market, you have problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and very aware. And then your goal is, especially with flows, but pretty much all of email marketing in e-commerce, is you want to take someone from one step to the other, right? And also, whenever you want to target someone who's earlier in the awareness phase, how do you write copy in a way that says, okay, you don't understand this part, but you understand that. How do I get you to buy from here to there, like as fast as possible, right? And so, for example, the easy example is like the welcome flow. Welcome flow normally, actually, let me take a step back. It actually starts even before the welcome flow, which starts with the pop-up that you're using to get people into the flow in the first place. Usually, e-commerce stores will do something like 15% off. What does that mean? Someone who signs up for 15% off to get some shoes, let's just say they're minimalist shoes for CrossFitters or something like that. Well, one, they already know CrossFit, right? They already know what minimalist shoes is, at least for the most part. They get the idea, and they're they might not be ready to buy, but they're there. They're pretty aware. Okay, so once they sign up and get to the welcome flow, all you have to do now is figure out where do you want to be in that awareness spectrum: problem aware, solution aware, uh, product aware, or very aware, and then take them from the beginning of the welcome flow to the end of the welcome flow, all the way to the end of it. So using that same example of someone signs up for 15% off, I would probably start with solution aware, um, and then go by the end of the whole thing very aware, which is solution aware is just like, hey, uh, you you want to strengthen your legs or something, whatever the benefit of minimalist shoes are, and then goes, okay, our shoes have X, Y, and Z. This is why we're different. And then by the end of the welcome flow, hey, get our shoes now for $80 or whatever the thing costs. And so that's a really quick example of how customer awareness works within the email flows. And then you're just doing the same thing, but for every other flow. Post-purchase flow is going to have a lot more awareness than the welcome flow. Cart abandonment flow is going to have more than the welcome flow as well. Quiz might be a little bit different. It just depends on how are people getting into the flow in the first place, and then just moving them up as you go along.
Got it. So like within the welcome series, then are you basically digesting it where it's like email one hits this awareness and then email two goes to this awareness? Is that how you think about it? Or you don't really necessarily have each email tackling a different solution, but in your mind, you know kind of what you're doing in the copy. Does that make sense? Like how do you think about each email within the flow?
It can be one email per thing. The best way to think about it, though, at least when you're more advanced and you actually get the concept, is that uh, you want to give people the information they need to make a purchasing decision. So it can be in one email, especially if you are in like apparel or something where people only really need to see the product. Then that's really quick. You just show them the product, you show them a couple of featured benefits, and then you can move on to the next thing. But if you are in a much more difficult, much more complicated market, for example, supplements, like even something as basic as protein powder can get really scientific really fast. And so you want to spend a little bit more time, whether that means longer emails or a higher frequency of emails to educate them throughout the entire process. So if you say, just to give an example of the supplements, say someone starts a problem where, are you struggling to build muscle? Here's why you're struggling to build muscle. That could be one long email, or it could be like the 3 things that keep people small for the rest of their lives, and you could do that. I usually wouldn't, for me, the welcome flow is going to be pretty short. It's going to be like 5-ish, maybe a little bit more emails. And then the rest, you just repeat it throughout the actual campaigns. But that's basically the idea. As long as you give people the information they need to actually make a purchasing decision, then you're good to go.
Awesome. And this is a little bit kind of a sidestep, but I know you mentioned direct response, but I think direct response, I only think about, right, like long form email, text, and copy. I don't really think like visual or graphics or HTML. What's your stance on kind of plain text versus HTML? Do you do both? Do you lean towards one? Is it a mixture? Like, where do you fall for that?
Yeah, so it's funny because when it comes to client work, you go more on the visual side because that's what people think they're paying you for. But when it comes to like actual, your own brand or stuff, it depends again on the category. It depends on what information do people need to know to buy. So if you are in a more lifestyle category like apparel, then it's going to be more visual because that's what they need to know, right? Yeah. But if I'm selling again a supplement, if I show you my supplement bottle, I'm not gonna, like, you look at the bottle, it's like cool, but like I still don't know what you're giving me, man. So give me more information. So it depends on both. And honestly, again, as you go to more awareness, right? You go from problem aware, it's going to be more text heavy. But then as you go higher and higher and higher to very aware, it's more graphic heavy because at that point, all you're saying is, hey, get it at 20% off,
Awesome. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Anything else that you want to mention kind of on the first question, or should we go to the second question?
I guess the most important thing is, especially, again, there's the way direct response people do it is completely different, especially direct response e-commerce is still completely different from, DTC world and Twitter or stuff like that. So I'm in the camp of where you should combine both, of where you need to have very compelling copy. The problem a lot of e-commerce, not copywriters, the e-commerce marketers have in DTC world is that it's too soft and it's too brandy. Like they don't like not brandy as in that brand is bad, but that they mistake that brand is actually your positioning, is actually your sales argument, is actually the claims you make. Like, hey, like if you're gonna sell a protein powder, for example, don't just say your protein powder has 24 grams of protein. That's cool. That's important to know, but it's better you have like the headline that says, hey, skinny, here's the secret to getting, ripped in 30 days, be aggressive with what you're doing. And then you follow that up with the proof and the logic stuff, like get people like emotionally riled up about what it is you're selling. You have to be exciting about it throughout the entire awareness cycle.
Got it. So what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, is basically what you're saying is like when D2C brands approach marketing or email in particular, they're not really compelling enough. It's just like, hey, we're over here, look at us, versus like, hey, you need this, here's why, and really focusing on conversion. Is that kind of what you were getting to?
Pretty much, because a lot of brands, they have this thing, a lot of just people in general, those brands are obviously the result of other people's biases. And that bias is that direct response is icky, it's salesy, it's yucky, basically. And then there's a nice, legit way to do it. There's no such thing. In fact, what I believe is that the more your emails sound like infomercials, the better you're off. It's going to perform better. You don't have to say the exact words. You don't have to literally say, but wait, there's more. I mean, you could, but you don't have to say it like that. But the idea, the concept has to be there. Because if it's not there, Now all you're doing is just is you're putting your own biases into it instead of worrying about what the customer actually wants. They want the bonus. So that's why the infomercials say, but wait, there's more. It's not because the wait, there's more. There's something about that phrase. It's just that, you know, this just works. And that's what people want. And so that's the way you think about it. And really you think about any type of copywriting, whether it's emails, ad creative, anything. So yeah.
It's interesting. No, thank you for that. So on the second kind of topic that you mentioned, we can kind of talk through is how to write email copy for hyper competitive markets using market sophistication. So I'm really kind of curious what that actually even means. So do you mind kind of explaining what that is and kind of some strategies or tips for that?
Yeah. So market sophistication is, it's basically like it's very similar to awareness framework. Actually, it's actually built on top of awareness, and it's a way to basically advertise your product when as the market matures, and basically as the market matures, meaning there's more competition. Okay, so market sophistication has 5 levels, similar to the 5 levels of customer awareness. Level number 1 is where you make a claim, right? Let's just use supplements. Supplements are easy for this. Let's just say you're doing a fat loss supplement, for example. The fat loss supplement, the level 1 market sophistication means take this pill, burn some fat. That's it. That's level 1. Super easy. There's no one competing with you. You're the first one. So boom, that's all you need to know to get people's trust, right? Step number 2, the market sophistication level 2. This is where you amplify that original claim. So instead of saying, hey, take our pill, lose weight, it says, hey, take our pill, lose 20 pounds in the next 30 days. Okay. At that point, because people are already saying, everyone else is saying, take this pill, burn some fat, you have to take it up to the next level and say, okay, there you go. Like, we're going to promise more for when you work with us. That's step 2. And then market sophistication level 3, this is where things change. All of a sudden, people are already super like jaded about hearing everyone saying, you know, this stuff works. It burns 20 pounds in 30 days and all that stuff. People, they don't believe it anymore. So what do? You switch the focus from the product, from the promise, to how that promise works. How does that happen? Which is called, at least in direct response, is called the unique mechanism. It's similar to a USP, but the difference between is a USP and unique mechanism is that the unique mechanism is how the product actually works. The most famous example of this, and I'll give 2 examples. The most famous example is P90X. When it first came out, it was like, oh, you know, burn weight with muscle confusion, right? That was literally like, it became so popular. Muscle confusion is, I'm pretty sure muscle confusion is still more popular today than the actual P90X workout program. And that's how it was sold. It was get ripped with muscle confusion. That's why P90X became so big. And another example, more e-commerce friendly, is Proactive. Proactive, you look all their infomercials, it was the 3-step proactive system, right? Step 1, you put this thing. Step 2, you put that thing. Step 3, you put this thing. Boom, all of a sudden you have clear skin, right? That is the system you want. And so focusing on that instead of the promise makes you more believable. Now, what happens when everyone copies your promise? You go on to step 4, market sophistication, which is when you amplify the promise. So going back to the supplement example, step 3 would be, lose weight with the supplement that has Garcinia cambogia, which is the ingredient that a lot of fat burners have. At step 4, you would say, lose weight with this pharmaceutical grade Garcinia cambogia, or some other like old school ads, like I remember the old cigarette ads, is like, you know, the cigarette doctors recommend. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever, but still, like, that's the idea. Like, ideally you have some type of proof that makes your unique mechanism seem more legit than everyone else's. Like, this is a better version of whatever you got. That's amplification. And then step number 5, and step number 5 is by far the hardest route to go. It's usually called the dead market, because at that point, people don't believe your promises. Neither do they believe your unique mechanism, how your product works. All they care about at this point is the person, the identification, like who this is for. This is when you start seeing like Nike, they go all in on the whole athlete angle, because at that point, it's not about the shoe anymore. It's about who's wearing the shoe, you know. And that's super hard, and you generally want to stay away from there if possible. But Yeah, right. And then like then you could go more advanced after all those 5 phases. Like usually this, if you want to read more about it, you could always get a book called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. And like for example, one of his many secrets in there that very few people realize is that as you get more into from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, 4, and 5, if you get to like level 3 or 4, the trick idea that you can do this is to take that product, reposition it so that you're back at market sophistication level 1 because there's no one else doing it, aka the blue ocean market. So I know it's a little complicated, but yeah, it's pretty much what market sophistication is.
Yeah, that's interesting. This might be a hard question to answer, but like in kind of what you've seen in your experience, like how long does it take for this market to kind of become, saturated and competitive? Like is going from steps, 1 through 5, is that something that happens in industries over 6 months? Is it something that happens over years? Like how quickly do brands typically have to move through these stages, do you think?
Yeah, it completely depends on the market. It definitely, I would say, takes a few years. For example, like keto is huge, but it was there for years before it took off. Like it really took off. And so you could have stayed in that market sophistication level 1, level 2 for a while. But today, if you come out with a keto product, keto supplement or something, you're not going to get away with the basic stuff anymore, right? At this point anyways. And so another example that I remember this very clearly was VR. When VR first came out, everyone had the goggles and stuff. At the beginning, everyone said, hey, you could do VR now. This is super cool. You could see everything in 3D and whatever. But now today, it took a couple of years, but now today is a little bit more complicated. It's still early because it's just so damn expensive to be in that space and stuff. So people are slow, whatever. But yeah, it definitely takes a couple years. But the best way, I wouldn't really worry about it, to be honest. The only real way you can tell is if you look at your competitors. So that's another thing. Competitor research is probably the best source of research you can ever have when you're writing any type of copy, but especially when you're trying to write copy based on people's awareness and people's, the maturation of the market itself. And so if you look at other people and they're saying, this is our product, here's how it works, and they give it like a cool name or whatever, then you need to do the same.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great ways to monitor your competitors, right? Sign up for their newsletters, buy their products, right? Go to Facebook ad library, look at what they're running their ads, right? Also look kind of more, I guess on a broad scale at like Google Trends, right? Like what keywords are picking up, right? So keep an eye kind of on the micro, the macro level is kind of the best way that you'd say to monitor what's happening. Is there anything kind of outside of like signing up for a newsletter, looking at their ads and kind of looking at like keywords that you recommend people do to stay up to speed?
So I have my own biases, and that's that it's, if you only do that within the regular e-commerce space, you're going to miss out on a lot of things because a lot of people don't know this. So I always think you should be 100% paying attention to anyone who does this in a more direct response fashion. Because if you look at a lot of, for example, supplements, you look at a lot of supplements. Now people are getting a little bit smarter with supplements, but even today, they'll still say our product is all natural, no sugar, no whatever, right? And then it will help you, build muscle. But none of them have a unique mechanism. None of them have a very specific ingredient that they focus on or good positioning. But if you go into direct response world, now you are in the completely different space where that's all they talk about. Like they only talk about that this secret ingredient came from the Himalayas or something, and all of a sudden it makes you ripped in 30 days. Say that's the opposite route. And so where you want to be is in the middle, right? And the way you would find these, it's harder to find these, but it's possible. One is you pay attention to regular infomercials, right? Two is to sign up to more direct response heavy e-commerce businesses, which there's some examples of more direct response heavy is the supplement space, as well as I would say skincare, like women's skincare. And just for general like education of how this looks like, you can go into the more hardcore info product space, which that's literally all they do, because that's super, super saturated and no one believes that you can make money in 30 days, but it does, the way that they do promote it is great. The diet space, whew, that's the space you want to look at. No matter, I don't care what you sell, it's going to work. So for example, I'll give another example. It was a failed business, but I originally started a luxury sportswear brand called Stunt Double. It was luxury sportswear for men. Okay. And I came out with a shirt, but I knew that the shirt, there's 1,000,001 different shirts. How the hell do I differentiate my shirt? Well, it turns out that you can actually make a sportswear shirt with a silver fiber within the actual fiber itself, that if you use it, it stops the shirt from smelling, right? And so that in and of itself was a unique mechanism. Now that unique mechanism already existed. Brands like Rhone and Lululemon already have that same exact thing, but the awareness, so few people know that it exists, especially guys. Guys don't know what that is.
Right.
You don't know. You just repeat it and you just say it to more guys, and now they don't know. And so what I did, I forgot what Rhone and Lululemon call it. I think Lululemon calls it like silver scent or something like that. I was going for guys, so I went more hardcore. So I called it, introducing. I called it Silver Force, right, to sound more military style. And I called the shirt the Ghost. So I was like, check out the Ghost. Is the only shirt with Silver Force technology. And then I went with the military route because the company that made the silver, the U.S. Army actually uses their silver for some of their gear.
That's cool.
So now you can borrow that proof and say, this is the only shirt with Silver Force technology, the same technology that used in the world's most dangerous conditions used by the U.S. military. Now all of a sudden, that sounds like a good damn pitch. The business didn't work, not because it didn't sell, but because the cost to make these shirts are ridiculously expensive and stuff. It's crazy. The economics of apparel are awful, but the pitch worked. People loved that angle so much. It was just like, it just worked. And so that's the way you want to do it. It's definitely more advanced copywriting. And at that point I was way hardcore into direct response, even more than I was today. But yeah, it's a little difficult, but that's kind of the way you want to think about it.
Yeah, man, this is so awesome. Before we go to question 3, I really want to point out the fact of what you just said around studying other brands, not necessarily that are apples to apples, right? Because I think, I do this, a lot of us make this mistake where if we're running a beauty brand, right, we're looking at the 5, 10 top beauty brands in our space, right? And other brands that we get ads for, and we try to see other people in our space, but we are so looking at people that are doing the same style, right? And are all kind of copying each other to some degree. And to your point, right, trying to find brands that have been doing this for a while and are really successful in the direct response or some other kind of world, I think is a really great one to do. And I don't think that's something that a lot of people are currently doing. So I think that's really, really important. So I really appreciate that. And the last one, again, I really appreciate all the insight here is, how to write copy that turns, you put in quotes, vitamin products into painkillers. Really curious kind of what you have to say here.
Okay. Yeah, so this is definitely much more advanced copywriting. And that's that. So a lot of products are by nature, they're vitamin products, like the whole vitamin versus painkiller thing. Vitamins are nice to haves and painkillers are, your head hurts, so you want to solve this problem as soon as possible. The problem is most products are naturally vitamins. Like this shoe is a nice to have, this belt is a nice to have, this wallet is a nice to have. So what you want to do is you want to position it in a way that it's a must have, that I need it now. So how do you do that? So this is an example in the direct response space, but you see it sometimes in regular DTC world. It's supplements. Again, it's greens, right? Greens, athletic greens used to do this, I think, but greens normally, what is it? It's just a tub of powder made of, like 50 different vegetables and stuff.
Right.
So what's the normal pitch? The normal pitch is get healthy, drink this, be healthy. That's essentially what the pitch is. But who wants to be healthy? No one really wants to be healthy, bro. So what do? You reposition it to find an urgent problem that the greens solve. So what is that urgent problem? The problem I think that they normally use is something like blood pressure or something like that. I forgot the exact problem, but let's just say it's blood pressure.
Yeah.
So they say this product helps with blood pressure, basically. And all of a sudden, now you need the product, because if you have a problem with your blood pressure, you need greens. That's how they do it. And that's when you start going to the unique mechanism and stuff, and you go into the actual full pitch. But that's what vitamins to painkillers are. Another example, and it's much harder to do this in more lifestyle products, but it's still possible. So for example, say you're trying to sell a really expensive wallet, right? The wallet in of itself is a nice to have for most people. It's just a gift, right? It's a nice gift. But what does a wallet give you, right? Like, is there a problem that a wallet solves that you could that you focus on that would make someone really, really need it, right? One is some apparel brands use this pitch is like, throw away your high school wallet, grow up, be a man type of thing, type of messaging. Another one could be, are you embarrassed to take out your wallet in front of your girlfriend or something like that? Like that's another way to think about it. Like for more of that, guys can handle more shame messaging. But that's essentially what that means. Like you want to find a problem that your product or these ingredients in your product or materials that solves. Or for example, another one just remembered right now when it came to wallets. I remember seeing this somewhere, which by the way, Kickstarter is another great place to find. They do a lot of direct response heavy stuff in Kickstarter. And that's at like fat wallets. When a lot of guys, they put on their back pocket. And so what happens is that their back like tilts or whatever like that. And so you could have like literally a picture that says, here, look, most guys, they have these fat wallets and now their spine is like, they basically have scoliosis. And so here's how to fix it. And you get the skinny wallet, the skinny wallets that they sell now. I think the Ridge wallet does something similar or something like that. I don't know, but that's definitely that's an example of how to turn vitamins to painkillers. It doesn't work all the time, but whenever you can, you do it, and you don't have to like focus the entire brand on it. It could be one specific campaign that you do once every 2 months. It could be one specific flow. It could be one specific thing. So something, even if you don't want to go hard all in on it, just sprinkling it in there is definitely is another angle to test. But two, like it's definitely like, it's going to be generally stronger messaging.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. So in my mind, the way that I've interpreted this is it's basically like positioning the psychology of turning a want into a need, right? Instead of saying, oh, I want this wallet, it's saying, oh, I actually need this wallet, right? So it's kind of like that messaging that makes someone go from, I want this, but maybe I don't need this, so I'm not going to get it. So I want this and I need this, so therefore I'm going to buy it today.
Yeah, exactly. Like the way I think about it is more of a problem. Like how do you turn like a soft problem into a hard, urgent problem? So like it's even if a problem is important to people, they still won't act on it. Right. Again, like healthy, like it's important to be healthy, but it's not urgent. Right. So you want a more urgent problem. And this can be done in even places like luxury, because luxury is based on status. Like, what's the worst thing you could have when it comes to social status is you want to be, scorned from the group. Don't be, you want to be part of the group. So you could use that dynamic to sell. You don't want to do too much on luxury products, but more on the prestige, high-end premium price products, you could definitely do that kind of messaging.
Awesome. Dude, this is fantastic. For anyone that's made it this far that kind of wants to, follow you or learn from you, ask you any question, what's the best place to connect with you? Is it Twitter? Is it LinkedIn? Is it your email? What are some places that people can kind of follow along and connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. Two best places is my website, danavirsarria.com, or you can contact me through Twitter at danavirsarria.
Cool. And I'll drop your website and your link in the bio. This will go on YouTube. So, hey, man, well, this is fantastic. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure people that are listening to this as well will also. So I really appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me, man.
Of course. Thank you.